I got you, people. This is the thing. Everybody these days complain that they don't want to work. They want money, but they don't want to work, right? Oh, I'm tired of my job. I'm so sick of it. I don't want to work no more. So how is it that you're going to pay your bills? How are you going to go out if you don't work? But these days, man, people don't want to do anything anyway. And another thing is that everything you work for is to pay bills. You know, the money doesn't give for you to relax and enjoy your money, go out and spend that money and how you want it to really spend it, right? You can't go on a trip. Then so expensive. Basically, at Memorial Day, a lot of people didn't go out. They started having barbecue right here in front of the buildings, in front of the residents, on the sidewalks, anywhere. You know, everybody was grilling in the place that they live, right? They couldn't go out or whatever. They got the closest park to them. They will go out, but basically, people are just getting tired. They said it's not worth working anymore, and people want money, but they don't want to work no more. They don't want to strive or hustle for that part. That's why a lot of businesses, they know these things, and companies know. So it's no use of paying employees the salaries, and right, that they always ask for, and to increase their wages, because they don't want to do the work. So that's why a lot of businesses also are closing down, and with the AI technology, you know, they're getting replaced. Even though only a few, half or maybe 10% of people want to continue to work because, you know, they like working. And this generation have no idea how to make money, invest money, and what to put the money where it works, when they could use it when they're ready to retire or things like that, right? They just spend their money on nonsense things, and they're not gonna say what they spend it. You know, they spend it on things that they're not gonna help them produce more money for them, right? They're just gonna always work 9 to 5 and always complain of it. And another thing is that other people don't want to work. They want to look for a partner to leech up on, so this partner could take care of them, right? That's how everybody's doing now. Everybody wants a partner, not to be together and make things 50-50 or contribute to the relationship. One of these partners wants to be the beneficiary of your work, right? They don't want to work. They want you to take care financially of them, right? But they don't want to do nothing. They just want to sit at home and do nothing. But they want that one partner to go out 7 days a week or 5 days a week and struggle 9 to 5 and bring that money and take care of 2 people and you know, pay all the bills. Because now these days, it's no way that people could enjoy their money, because everything you get is a bill, and that money's got to be saved for bills. And that's what I say, that, you know, when you need certain skills in this country now, and your degree is not going to be enough. You got to be into technology, something that you could offer the future, right, of this generation now that is coming. Is the future, and is into technology, and that's what you got to get into now. So a lot of people are losing their job. That's a lot of government agencies. They're not letting you work because they want to. It's because technology is here already. They don't need a whole bunch of secretaries shifting papers back and forth when everything is already coded, and it's specific questions that they ask, and you either say yes or no and fill out the paper, send out the information. That's it, and it's coded. You don't need no people shifting folders and files back and forth when AI, artificial intelligence, could do that. That's one of the things. A lot of businesses are closing down, and they think that it's the government just firing people and things like that, you know, putting pressure on the people. Knows the age of technology is already here, and if you don't have the intellect or you don't have the education for that particular job, you just don't fit in anymore in the future. You're just gonna have to figure out how you're gonna make income, and half of the world's on some kind of public assistance or government assistance handout, because there's not enough jobs anymore, and there's gonna be less jobs coming more in the future. There's gonna be a lot of jobs that are gonna be lost. that people don't qualify for anymore. So you got to get jobs that are really out there, that are always going to be useful, that they need a person actually there, taking information. But other than that, if you're not up to in technology, you're going to be a lost case, or you're going to just be working and getting nowhere. So remember, people, the job that you get, it's not the employer's responsibility to help you succeed on what you want to do and your dreams and your future. You working for an employer and you're getting paid for whatever hours, 9 to 5, overtime, or whatever it is, for a certain salary. You agree to work for a company and he's going to pay you what you accepted, right? And that's the way it is. No, you do not control your employer. I don't think people ever understand what an employer is and who's the employee. The employee is the worker, and the employer is the one that hire you to do a certain job, and you're gonna get paid a certain wage for your job. Not just because you've been there a few years, or they kept you for what, 15, 18 years, and then decide to close the business or fire you. You're gonna catch a fair attitude after you gave in, 15, 18 years. Now they want to close down, they want to let you go. Hey, that's the way it is. You don't have responsibility to a company. You're an employee, you're not an employer. So the employees never or will never understand what employers go through, to keep the business running and keep employees working and pay them a salary. Employees think that the employers are cheap and things like that. They don't have consideration for the employee. It's not that a business costs money. People think employees don't understand this because they just come into work, clock out, go home. But the employee got to think 7 days a week, 365 days a year to keep a business running, or a manufacturing business. Everything takes time, business, logistics, stocks, bills. Everybody's got to pay. They pay more bills. And while they're paying you your salary, they pay more than thousands of millions of dollars just to keep a company running. And it costs millions of dollars to keep a business running. Any business costs money. People think just because you're employees always complain because why? They got the privilege to go home and don't deal with anything like that, of owning a business and keeping things up to date and things like that. Even code regulations, they don't have to deal with none of that. All they do is receive a check and go home. That's all they know. But employers got a big responsibility to running a business. So I don't think that employees understand really what it is to be an owner. You want to think you could run a business, open up your own business, and you see how hard it is just to open a small business. Takes time for you to start making money, right? Usually every business fail within 2 years. Things go wrong, and that's how you learn. Within those 2 years, you're going to learn how to correct your business to make more money and hire people that are right. And that's one of the things is once you work for certain people, you understand the business aspect. I work for a lot of different people, and I know about how employees work. And I always tell you, it's not your problem. You don't understand because you're not the boss. You're not in a position of leadership, so you don't understand. You don't know how to take orders and things like that. And they think that usually the foremen, the managers are abusing their power, because some of them do. But the thing is that it's a certain in the army chain of command that you gotta follow. So it's like that you gotta follow a chain of command when they tell you something, because that's how things work. But employees will never understand that because they're just there for a paycheck, and they never understand how the business work. So that's why a lot of people these days in the United States are getting laid off and think they're complaining. They think they could file lawsuits against the employer. You're not gonna win. The employer is two different things for an employee. You could do whatever you want. You're not gonna make it. The employer has every right to shut down a business, to lay off or whatever, and move out to somewhere else where it's convenient to him to save money and run a business, right? But anyway, like I said before, these days nobody wants to work. Everybody's looking for somebody to live off somebody else's benefits and be the beneficiary of that of that money. But you got to be careful, people who you partner with, and you know what's going on. So you got to safeguard yourself and your money, your beneficiaries, and things like that, because there's a lot of people here that don't want to work anymore, and they're always complaining. They don't want to strive. Another thing is that a lot of people here in America, most of them work without any permits or any license, and then they complain when the Department of foods and things like that, or safety concerns, and they get their things taken away. And people don't think they shouldn't be doing that. At least they're working, yeah, but you're working without permission, without a permit. Imagine if somebody gets hurt or somebody gets sick from the food they're selling, and who you gonna sue? You can't sue the person that's like, he don't got no license or anything like that. Who you gonna sue? The city. That's why the city has got to protect himself and take all these people that ain't got no licenses or permit off the street. It's not because they're doing something bad. You doing it wrong already. If you want to work legally, right? Every state has rules and regulations to follow. What can you do to work? So you got to go in and look it up and get the information and apply for whatever license and then permits. That's why I don't complain when you see officers or anybody from the city taking people's property away because they have no license or permits to be out there selling, right? You know how many people here in the city sell without no license, no documents on it, and they make money, and none of that is reported. They're getting free money, while the average person that's got to work 9 to 5 legally is paying taxes, and the other ones are not. That's why it's not fair. That's why everybody should have the proper documents to work. You know, it's like saying if I go to another country and I go on vacation, instead of being on vacation, I'm working over there. See? So, I mean, it's illegal. You cannot be on vacation, on a trip, be a tourist, and then start working, and then you work, and you forget about, you don't forget, right? You know that you got to go back to your country. Instead, you always stay, and you stay working without paying any taxes, and now, you know, you violated your tourist visa, right? Because now you're working. And you know you're not supposed to be working. That's why that's not allowed. That is no matter how you say it's illegal, you cannot do it. Everybody that goes to another foreign country as a tourist, that's what you are. You're a tourist. You're there as a vacation, to enjoy your vacation, not to be working and things like that. And that's why a lot of people get in trouble, because they always stay because they like the money, or they feel more relaxed in that country, and then they don't leave when they're supposed to. And then they flag you. When you go out, they're going to fine you for overstaying, and they probably flag you. You can't come back in. So you mess up your own self. You got to do everything legal. Like, I carry all kinds of licenses on me. And if I need another license, I go look it up and I go get it. There's no excuse, people. If you need something, the information is out there. Look it up, get it, and apply for it. And whatever, if you got to take a small exam or whatever, take it, and that's it. It's no excuse for saying you cannot do it. Listen, man, I used to be in that age, and I used to do that thing. I used to always try to go around. I don't take orders. I do what I wanted to do, and everything comes out wrong. No matter what, it's going to come out wrong. You cannot beat the system. Remember, everybody says that. You're going to beat the system here and there, but when the time comes when you really need it, nothing's going to work out for you. All that shortcut that you took, you're going to have to pay for it. So do not take no shortcut, people. Do everything right so you won't be in trouble. Look at this, right? I was driving from one state to another, not in one state, borrow from the Bronx to Manhattan. I was coming in. The police had a roadblock, right? The whole highway is crazy. They blocked the middle of the highway, and they were stopping trucks. They stopped a big truck, and I guess I was saying, man, they got illegals in the truck. No. And then they stopped a cab, and what happened? The cab had passengers. And as soon as they went to stop the car, the driver got out the car and ran. Imagine, that means he was an illegal taxi driver, and he let the passengers in there, and the driver just ran out. So that's a man. You got to do things legally. And then what? What the passengers gonna do? He drove them halfway in the middle of the highway, because that's what there was. You know, they had a checkpoint, and they were stopping scooters, everybody. And this cab driver just opened the door and left the passengers in there. That's what I'm saying. You got to do the right thing, people. You got to be licensed or whatever the requirement is. go look for it. It's not hard. You just gotta, make your effort and do it. And stop complaining that it's hard to go Monday. No, those rules are there to protect everybody. And with that, people, I let you go and you think about that. Remember, the future's here. You better get into the right education and technology. With that, I let you go and you think about that.